Hello, two-wheelers of the internet. Welcome to another episode of the High Side, Low Side podcast. My name is Zach Kortz. With me, as always, is Spurgeon Dunbar. Buckle up, everybody, because this is a podcast of motorcycle records.
It's true. We have gone to the mother of all record keepers, the Guinness Book of World Records website, and we have a slew of different motorcycle records that were broken down into different categories. We've each picked different records that we want to talk about. We're going to debate them, and we're going to have some fun. Important note here is that all the records on the Guinness Book of World Records website is completely up to date. So these are all current records that we're going to be discussing today.
That's what it says, although the website does have a feel of like one that, you know, your uncle made in 1999 or something. Doesn't, like, the Guinness Book website actually is not a famously slick website.
Some of the ones that I picked actually said, like, this record was then broken in 1993. And I'm like, but it's the one that's listed as the top record. So I say that very loosely. We'll explain anything that we think might be out of whack.
Yeah, exactly. We've got some bones to pick, but it's their claim. Guinness Book of World Records, they say that everything's up to date.
It's also more just about the stories too, right? Like there's just some pretty absurd stories here. So
we got some great springboards to talk about motorcycling today. I'm excited about it. And a quick note, just going to be Spurge and me today. So no guests to come in and balance out this insanity, just the two of us. So I hope that's okay with everyone. As usual, we're going to talk about viewer and listener comments, and we're going to give away some T-shirts. But
we're going to talk about the news. We're also going to talk about the news, so don't forget that.
It's a record-breaking news segment as well.
It actually is true. We planned that perfectly.
Wasn't an accident at all. So first, a tip of the cap to our friends at Moto, who allow us to chase this silly podcast dream that you people seem to enjoy now and again. So we know that Moto makes all kinds of goodies for our motorcycles, oils, lubes, and so on. There's a long list of things that they make.
But what you might not know is that Moto sent Zach and I a giant box of goodies, actually 2 giant boxes of goodies. And really, it's more than either he or I can use in the next couple of months, unless we just start changing our oil every 500 miles, and nobody wants to do that.
I didn't actually. How much did they send us? I'm actually just getting this information.
Yeah, so I sent you a couple of pictures of this the other day because it's all over the floor of my garage.
That was.
Yeah,
okay.
It was all the stuff that Moto sent. So plenty of oil, plenty of cleaners, plenty of lubes, and we've got a lot of it. And we want to share.
So update. Spurgeon has a lot of Moto product. Zach has zero Moto product as it stands. But anyway, the point is,
it's in the mail. It's in the mail.
Collectively, we're not gonna hog it all for ourselves. And we thought, because Moto allows us to make this podcast, and because you folks out there listen to it and seem to enjoy it now and again, we would give away a care package to a lucky listener in the name of a charity.
Yeah, so just so everyone's clear, because this is something that's just been announced, RevZilla, along with Rever and JP Cycles and Cycle Gear, have partnered with the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation, and we are going to be participating in this year's Ride for Kids to raise charity for kids that are struggling with cancer.
So the goal is to rack up as many miles as possible between August 12th, mark your calendar, August 12th, 8/12, or if you're in Europe, that's 12/8, and September 12th, or 9/12, 12/9, depending on where you live. Those are the dates, August 12th through September 12th, to raise money for charity. So Spurgeon and I are going to compete against each other, not only raise money for kids, but to see who can outride the other one, if you will. Presumably the loser will have to, I don't know, do something embarrassing.
I was thinking about making a T-shirt made, and one T-shirt will say Spurge is cooler than Zach, and the other one will say Zach is cooler than Spurge, and then whoever loses has to wear, something like that we can have some fun with it. But but the point here is that we want to get you all involved as well. So what we'd ask of you as our audience is to head over. The website is rideforkids.org/ride, and we can get our editors to put that up on the screen so you can see it, and join the ride. Let's raise some money. We're gonna help some kids out, and then once you sign up, just take a screenshot of your sign up page and send us an email to highsidelowside@RevZilla.com. We're gonna get a whole list of people that are riding and competing with Zach and myself, and then we're going to pick a random winner, and we're going to send you a box to change your oil after riding all those miles, maybe some cleaner so you can clean it all off. We're going to take all those Moto goodies that they gave us, and we're going to share them with charitable people like yourself.
Right. So thank you in advance, basically.
Yeah.
And we'll see how this goes for us. It's a shame we didn't do this in July, because Spurge and I had
a lot of miles.
basically across Alaska. Spurge is riding and all over the place. So yeah, not great timing for us. But the point is, we're going to try and help kids with cancer. Moto is going to help, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I got back from the Black Hills and I used like 3 bottles of bug cleaner to pull all the bugs off of that BMW that I was riding out there. But you too can pull bugs off. Anyway, sign up for rideforkids.org/ride, and Zach and myself are going to be having some fun with this, and we'll also keep you posted on who's logging more miles than the other person. We'll make sure that you know who's winning and who's not.
Because we're going to make sure the other person knows who's losing, basically.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So again, thank you to Motul for the ongoing sponsorship of High Side, Low Side, and being willing to help us with this sort of charity run. And hopefully it motivates some of you all to participate. We'll send you some oil cleaners and whatnot.
So now let's move on to T-shirt giveaway. Is before the news. I had to think about that for a second, even though it's written down in front of me. I didn't actually look at it. But let's go ahead and give away some T-shirts.
We could all see the gears turning, Spurge. You did great. First winner of the T-shirt this time around is Davis J. Blair. Davis J. Blair left an Apple Podcast review that said, I love High Side, Low Side, super informative, entertaining, blah, 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 whatever, gave us some compliments. The reason we chose Davis J. Blair's review is Davis J. Blair said, and I quote, "When they inevitably talk about ADV bikes, sometimes they talk about their experiences with the Kawasaki Versys, and for a little bit, it makes me forget how my 2009 650 is like the color beige on wheels, but a little bit less exciting."
I think
Which
it's
is
great.
An absolutely lovely teardown of one's own motorcycle.
I thought it was an apt description, but I think it's important to note for the audience that might not be aware, like, everybody at RevZilla has owned a Versys 650 at one point in time or other, or at least like half of the people in our content team. So like it seems to be a pretty popular bike that gets talked about quite often. So the fact that he's kind of giving a little bit of a slant here, I have a feeling like Ari Hanning will probably take offense to that and be like, this is a delightful motorcycle.
Well, I think that even hopefully self-respecting Versys 650 owners can even recognize that their bike might occasionally be like the color beige on 2 wheels, even if it is a fantastic motorcycle. And so anyway, thank you for your review, Davis J. Blair. Send your size and your address, your T-shirt size, that is, and your address to highsidelowside@revzilla.com so we can send you a free T-shirt. And thanks again for jumping through the hoops of leaving that Apple Podcast review.
So as I jump into the second winner here, keep in mind that these winners are picked from folks that have left us an Apple iTunes review.
It's
Apple Podcast review. It's Apple Podcast. We already talked about this last time. I'm sorry. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, and we pick the randomest reviews to send out free T-shirts to. And winner number 2 is Low T3K Guy. Low tech guy. Low tech guy is how you would pronounce it.
So he probably has a Versys 650 as well. Who knows?
There you go. Actually, that might be too much technology for him. I'm going with like a 70s cafe racer. Little set of clubbing bars on there. Anyway, review from Low Tech Guy said, "Last May, I shattered my collarbone, ironically, while test riding a new motorcycle. Spent 3 weeks navigating insurance, doctor's office, yada, yada, yada. Needless to say, hasn't been riding. And he's been missing it tremendously, and he's never listened to the podcast before. He said, I figured I'd give the podcast a try. He's read Common Tread articles, he's watched our videos, and he said he started with the 2 Up podcast that we did, and it was incredibly entertaining as well as educational. And he's now going to add the podcast to his already long list of reading and watching materials from RevZilla. So thank you to Low Tech Guy for the kind words, and we're happy that we could change your views on podcasting, if you will.
It's a great review. Just to summarize, high side, low side, better than the throbbing pain of a broken collarbone. It's really the most that we could ask for here at high side, low side. Anyway, we do heal. We hope that you heal up quickly.
We hope you
we
heal.
heal that you hope up quickly. And thank you again for your review. And don't forget to send your t-shirt size and address to highsidelowside@RevZilla.com.
Yeah, so if we called out your name in a previous episode as well and you haven't gotten a free t-shirt from us yet, it's probably because you haven't sent us the email. After we read your name out loud, you have to send us an email and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and here's the t-shirt I'd like, and here's the address I want it shipped to. So shoot those emails over to highsidelowside@RevZilla.com.
There's an action item. Okay, we're going to jump into the news now. And we promised it would be a record-setting news section, and that's because we just have a couple of random records to call out. This one piece of news that we wanted to chew over first is this concept electric bike that is aiming to break the land speed record with what's it called? White's motorcycle concept. White's motorcycle concept, is that right?
White's motorcycle concept, which has unveiled an electric land speed motorcycle.
Which I think is a pretty good application of electric technology, right? Like one of the things that people complain about with they take a long time to charge, they don't have a lot of range. Well, guess what? If you just have to go down the salt flats in Bolivia to 250 miles an hour and then turn around and come back, you don't need a ton of range. You just need a lot of power output. Provided they can keep it cool, which I assume they've thought about, it'll be, I think it's a pretty good application for that. So interested to see how that works out. I'm a little bit, Spurge will tell you, a little bit wary of, talking about a news item for a claim that someone's making. Like, we've got a bike, it's going to go super fast. And I sort of think well, call me when it went fast, man. We're not patting you on the back just yet. But I do think it's an interesting application of...
Zach is very much a show me the results kind of an individual, where I'm much more of like the I believe in the flowers and the daisies, and I'm just like, that's beautiful. They truly are going to do it because they say they will. So we're definitely, we have more of a realist versus an optimist kind of perspective here. But what I will say is that I have been saying for a long time that I think electric motorcycles make a lot of sense in racing applications, because oftentimes, it's short bursts at a time. It's not, you don't have to be going for 200 or 300 miles at a stretch. Think about doing a track day. You can go do a 15-minute session at a track day, come back, throw the bike on the charger for the next 45 minutes, and then jump back out for the next session. And I think this is something very much that, especially electric vehicles make so much oomph and torque right away that they can pretty much tune this thing however they want, and all the power is right there, and they're just going to go straight ahead. So I'm excited to see what comes of this. Agreed.
Same. Best of luck, White's motorcycle. White, perhaps the name White. Best of luck, White's.
So the next one is actually someone that Zach knows. So Zach, why don't you take? Well, you've met this person, right?
I don't actually know if I met him. But anyway, the next news item, so that when people aren't in the dark, is this fella who rode through 11 countries in 24 hours. It was 1,400 miles or something. Is that right? Or 1,100 miles? 1,400 miles? Something like that.
It was something over 1,100, I thought, because it was 11 countries in 24 hours.
Exactly, 11 countries in 24 hours. This Italian fella, Valerio, I believe his name is, on an MV Agusta Turismo Veloce, and evidently this is a world record of some sort to ride through that many countries. But what was interesting, the reason Spurge brought up is. If those of you who follow some of my misadventures with my friend Ari, we went to Italy at one point, and we participated in this racing series called Vespa Cross, which is Vespas, vintage Vespas that these guys and gals hop up and then race on motocross tracks, which is exactly as insane as it sounds, perhaps more so. And it was an amazing experience. We wrote an article for it on Common Tread. So feel free to check it out. There are some pretty rad photos of the bikes. And we actually built a bike with this guy in the garage. Anyway, the point is, one of the action photographers, we learned later, we said, we need some action photography. And our contact there said, I'll connect you with Valerio. And it was this guy, Valerio. He was there at Vespa Cross shooting photos. He's a photographer, journalist, in the motorcycle space. So when I saw this world record about this guy riding an MV Agusta around, and I saw the name, and I thought, no way, That's the guy from Vespa-Cross. He sat in the rain, in the muck, watching us fall off Vespas at 17 miles an hour. So it seems like a good egg, and kind of cool to see his name splashed around the internet for this kind of thing.
Yeah, we were having a meeting the other day about like picking our news topics, and we talked about this, and Zach was like, I know that guy. He shot photos of me. So if you want to see the photos that he shot of Zach and Ari, you can always head over to Common Thread and check out those photos that goes along with that Vespa Cross article. I'll tell you right now, it's a good article. It's a good read. It's fun. And we're going to keep the news brief today. And if you caught the theme of this, both of those news stories were about setting records. And that's going to take us right into the topic of today's podcast, which is, of course, a wild array of wacky Guinness Book records that we have pretty much gone through, and we've broken them down into a variety of different categories. We're going to start off with most impressive, most achievable, most beatable. We've got most dangerous, most pointless. The list goes on. So we are going to kick things off with most impressive today.
Right. So just a little bit, that's a little bit of structure. That's good background, Spurge, so people know what to expect. 5 categories. We've each made selections, and so everyone knows we don't know the other person's selection. We went through the site. Our producer vetted our answers to confirm that we didn't pick the same thing, but we don't know what the other person chose. So sparks may or may not fly here when Spurge picks the wrong thing.
So that's the fun part, is after we each read ours, we are going to try and agree on which of the two is, in fact, the most impressive.
And, despite the things we say to each other on this podcast, we are both fairly agreeable people, and we are friends. So I think we'll get there. But
I think it's interesting because so many comments are like, these guys hate each other. And it's like, we're just trying to create an entertaining podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
I enjoy his company.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, so let's jump into it. First category, most impressive. So of all the motorcycle records you saw on Guinness Book, Spurgeon, what was the one that you were like, whew, dang?
I have one. I have two, and I'm trying to figure out which one because now I'm trying to think of which one I want to use to beat
between
you.
The backup and the
I'm like, which one do I want to use to beat him? So
I didn't think that hard about it. So I think you should just go with what you got.
Okay.
And
So this record was set in May 8th of 2006, and it was the longest stoppie. And a stoppie, for those of you listening, is like a wheelie on the front wheel, like when you slam on the front brakes and the bike comes up. And this was the longest enduro or endo front wheel wheelie on a motorcycle by 2 people. So there was a record in there about the longest stoppie by a solo person, but this is someone that has come to a stop so aggressively that the bike is coming up to the front wheel. There's a passenger on the back waiting that back wheel down, and they set the record in Donington Park Race Circuit in the UK. They went 1,000 feet in 7.85 inches, so like 305 meters for those of you listening in Europe, which is almost a quarter of a mile.
That is the only word for that really is impressive. I don't know what else to say.
But
extremely.
Here's the deal. Like if you're out there and you've done a stoppie before, it's not super easy to do and actually control it and ride it out and keep everything moving straight. That's hard enough. But now try to do that with a passenger on the back. Yeah.
The thing about stoppies, the endos, whatever you want to call them, that is so tricky, is that with a wheelie, the people that are really good at wheelies can get to like the balance point of the bike, right? So the bike is up on its back wheel and it's balancing between kind of tipping over backwards and going back onto the front wheel. And you can find that balance point because you can use the back brake. If you go past the balance point backwards and you're going to tip over, you can hit the back brake to bring it back. And if the wheel is falling down forward toward the ground where it should be, you open the throttle and the wheel comes up again. So that's how, a person who's good at wheelies balances like that. With a stoppie, you can, of course, when you're riding along on the front wheel and you're decelerating, you can release the brake a little bit to bring the back wheel down and lessen the stoppie. But if you go over the front side of the balance point, there's no adding power to the front wheel to get the bike back underneath you. You're just over that balance point, and you're going to mousetrap yourself, basically. At that point, there's not a whole lot you can do. And I mean, I'm not particularly good at stoppies, so maybe there is some secret if you're a stunt rider and you're like, no, you just got to do the thingamajig. Maybe tell us, But I think that's the really amazing part about this, I think.
The other part about this, so I've done, you can do stoppies in two ways, the way that I see this. On the racetrack, when you're really aggressive on the front brakes and you start to feel that rear wheel lift off the ground as as you're sliding in. Or if you're just having fun and you're coming to a stop sign and you really just kind of grab on those front two brakes, pick your butt up a little bit, and you come to a fun little stop at a stop sign. But this person rode it 1,000 feet with a passenger on the back. And the other part of this, there's no way to stop you from mousetrapping, but there's also no way to input more throttle because that back wheel's off the ground. And presumably, if you start to slow down too much, it's going to come back down as well. So it's a long time. I mean, you have to be going pretty darn fast to be able to carry up that much momentum to get the back wheel up and then carry that 1,000 feet.
Were they on the flat, or were you allowed to go downhill?
I did not. That was not written out in the description. It was that it was in Donington Park Race Circuit.
We'll try not to ask too many questions, but that is extremely impressive. I gotta say, and I want to talk to the person who did it. I would also like to talk to the passenger.
Craig Jones. That was Craig Jones.
Craig, write us an email at highsidelowside@RevZilla. whatever. But I would also like to talk to the passenger. I bet that was pretty wild.
They didn't have the passenger's name, and I thought that was kind of a miss. Like they were part of the record too. It's just Craig
seriously.
Jones.
Well, he was manning the front brake lever, so I suppose he gets most of the credit. But yeah, the passenger, that's a lot of commitment. I'm impressed with your choice for most impressive. I don't have anything else to say really. Well, what do you think your longest stoppie is?
Oh, I would say if I'm talking about like being on a racetrack, like maybe 10, 20 feet before I get to the point where I'm slowed down enough to go into a corner. But like I said, most of the stoppies that I've done, like I'm thinking of like a Z125, right? Like we were doing the article for the Z125, and I wanted to get a stoppie shot for everybody else is like doing like wheelie shots for the Z125, and I'm like, no, I'm going to do a stoppie shot, and that's gonna be my hero photo. But like I said, most of my stoppies that I'm doing for fun are like coming to a stop. So it's like seeing how long you can balance it on the front nose before kind of popping down.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, same. Yep. Yeah, I'm not even really in that ballpark. Same thing. I can do a little stoppie as I come to a stop, but that's
so stoppies aside, we know what my most impressive pick is. Mr. Quartz, what do you got for me?
So there's sort of two parts to mine, but the short answer is I found the record for oldest wall of death rider.
Well, tell us what the wall of death is first, so that the audience knows.
So wall of death is the sort of like circus attraction thing that you all might have seen, where it's basically like it's a cylinder that they build that's probably, I don't know, has a radius or has a diameter of 30 feet, maybe 20 feet, something like that. It's pretty
between
small.
20 and 30, yeah.
Yeah. And it's maybe 20, 30 feet high also, maybe something like that. I don't know. A couple stories. It's probably 20 feet high. It's probably 2 stories high.
Say 2 stories, yeah.
And what Wall of Death riders do is they ride around the bottom of the little cylinder, and then they get up on the wall. These are vertical walls, right?
Wooden planks.
Yeah, wooden planks. And then if you carry enough speed, then you can ride around the inside of the wall. And then once you're riding around the inside of the wall, you can then climb up high so that you can ride up the Wall of Death, so that these riders are horizontal to they're parallel to the ground, riding around in circles. And the people that are good at it are amazing. They have a throttle stop, so they can just set the bike and the bike will just go. And then they ride side saddle and they ride backwards and they take dollar bills from the people at the top of the wall. It's really like it's pretty impressive.
So all the spectators are at the top of this, looking down.
You can stand at the top of the wall.
Yes.
You can go around the outside of the cylinder and you can peer down in, and then they ride up the inside of the wall. It's wild. Anyway, my man Jerry DeRoy.
JD?
What's that?
JD? Jerry DeRoy?
JDR? Jerry DeRoy?
Jerry DeRoy.
So he was born in 1927. And at the time this record was set, it was 1999. And he was, so I believe that, if I've done my math right, if they're not lying to me, he was 72 years old when this record was set. and he was the oldest Wall of Death rider on a 1927 Indian V twin, an Indian Scout from 1927, the same year of Sir Jerry's birth, which I think is pretty poetic. What I want to know, I think this is very impressive, by the way, 70-something years old doing the Wall of Death. I did a sort of cursory search, and I looked around. Jerry last rode at 81 years, 10 months, and 15 days on the Wall of Death, I believe.
So he's kept doing it since he's hit the record.
So this was 1999. So that was whatever. That was 9 years later, whatever. It's still been 10, 12 years since he did this. The point is, the first chink in the armor of the Guinness World Record website claim of everything being up to date, because that seems like that's foggy. But the point is, I found that very impressive. 72, 81, however many years old, my man's riding around the Wall of Death. Huh?
I would be interested,
isn't it?
No, it's very impressive. I would want to know when Jerry got started riding the Wall of Death, right? Like, did Jerry start in his 20s and then he just kind of kept that up, or did Jerry wake up one day at 71 and be like, you know what I'm going to do to celebrate 72 is learn how to ride a motorcycle around a wooden circle and grab dollar bills from people at the top. Now, the other thing to note here too is the reason that this is impressive is because if you don't know what you're doing and you get too far on the top and you go over the side, you're going to hurt somebody. Probably yourself, but also probably some spectators. So I would say that this is impressive just because, I mean, it takes a lot of coordination to begin with, let alone, when you're getting up into like 70s and 80s, like that's really crazy, especially because you're on a bike that's as equally as old as you are.
Yeah. It's you might say it's impressive. Agreed?
I would say it's impressive. Have you ever tried it? Have you ever done the Wall of Death?
No, I haven't. I feel like I would try it. I don't know. What about you? Would you try it?
I would try it. I don't think it's as scary as like, have you ever been to the circus where they do like the metal ball and people are riding around?
The globe of death. Yeah, no. Hell no.
No.
Yeah,
but this
like
is just
Place Beyond the Pines, yeah.
But this is just centrifugal force, right? So like you're just going around. I think the getting started and the coming back down would probably be the part that I struggle with the most. But
yeah. I bet it's hard to be oriented. Like when your inner ear, like you're sort of your body's desire to be upright is probably all out of whack when you're doing that. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I would that's one of the ones as we talk through these, like I would be convinced to try that. Now, I wouldn't try it with any spectators up top. I would be like, all right, I'll try this in a special
because you don't want to hurt
situation.
anybody.
That's the thing. It's one thing if I hurt myself. It's another thing if I hurt somebody else. All right,
Fair enough.
Which one's the most impressive?
Well, what's your opinion? I want your take first here, since you went first.
Old guy in a wooden cage, or or Craig Jones just riding with somebody on the back down a raceway. I would say that to me the most impressive is the longest stoppie, only because I know that I couldn't do that. And it's not that I couldn't it's not that I can right now do the Wall of Death. I can't, but I wouldn't be afraid to try that, and I would think that I might be able to get there. Now, whether I could do it at 72 or not is another story. But that I would say that I couldn't do the longest stoppie, so that's what I would say is probably the most impressive.
They're kind of different. They're impressive for different reasons, right? Like my man Jerry, been doing it a long time. That's quite an aged bag of bones to drag up the Wall of Death. That is impressive.
God.
But
an aged bag of bones to drag up the Wall of Death.
But the technical ability to do a stoppie for 1,000 feet or whatever is I don't know. I give the nod to you, Spurge. I think yours is more impressive.
I'm making two notes here. One is that I want to have a T-shirt made that says the aging bag of bones on the Wall of Death. And the other note that I'm making is that now I am 1 for 5 because I'm absolutely keeping score. And so far, I've won most impressive. So we got 5 categories, so it's an odd number. So somebody's going to win this.
True. Okay. So I'll go next. How about this? Does that make sense?
Go for it. Yeah, you go first. And this is
next category.
Sorry. I'll let you say it. Go ahead.
Next category we came up with is most achievable or most beatable. So basically the record that we saw and we thought, I think I could take a stab at that. That seems reasonable. The one that I selected was listed in the Guinness book as longest journey by motorcycle (team). Which, quick sidebar, I don't like. What are they talking? So
I saw this a couple times because there was one that was like most Superman seat grabs in under 3 minutes on a dirt bike, and it was a team. So it's like people just kept flying up, grabbing seats, and Supermaning a dirt bike. So it wasn't an individual. It seems like a whole bunch of people.
Right. It's kind of it seems odd that the sort of like team, like I believe they were on the same motorcycle. If memory serves, let me try to look this up here. But I think that
so
the
it's
record,
like a race, like a relay race type thing where there's like a baton. They ride 100 miles and they pass off the baton to somebody else.
So it says May 2005, Simon and Monica Newbound of the UK, they covered 104,887 miles on separate motorcycles on a journey that started in Dublin in Ireland in 2002, and they crossed over 50 countries. So
is that like,
they're riding separate motorcycles?
But like in tandem, were they riding together at the same time, or did like one person ride 100 miles and then pick up the other person?
No, I think they were just riding together, right? I mean, it was a round the world trip. They went around the world. They each had a motorcycle. They rode as a team, I guess. But I don't know. It's a vague category that I don't totally understand, to be honest with you.
But I would do that. I would do that with you. I think you could do that. Let's go.
I'll be honest. You weren't the first person that came to mind when I thought that I could do this, but I do appreciate that, and I would like to go on a motorcycle ride with you. Just maybe not 105,000 miles, but whatever. So I think it's a little bit nebulous, the whole like longest journey by motorcycle team. But one thing that I did want to share is back in my Motorcyclist magazine days, we had a page that I really liked in the magazine called Flashback, where we would dig through the archives of Motorcyclist magazine and we'd find old stories and we'd say like, this is something we covered way back when. And I especially liked doing stuff from before 1970, like stuff that we covered in Motorcyclist magazine at the time in the 60s or the 20s or whatever, So I brought this Motorcyclist magazine as a prop for today's high side, low side. And I'm going to pull up my Flashback page and it will soon all make sense why this struck me. This is the Flashback article that I wrote. If you're listening
on the podcast right now, Zach is holding up an old issue of Motorcyclist magazine.
I am. So, and I'm holding up this picture of these two Hungarian guys in the 20s. I think it was the 20s. No, sorry, the 30s. Well, they left in the 20s. Well, I'll do a quick synopsis here. I can't pronounce their names because they're Hungarian names. They're impossible. My wife's Hungarian and her family, I have no idea. Anyway, Zoltán Szolkowski and Gyula Bartha. They left Budapest in 1928 and they went to Paris. They bought a 1922 Harley Davidson Model J with a sidecar on it, and they took off around the world. And in the end, what was covered, I found a story in the New York Times where they went through the Big Apple. In total, the pair traveled 110,000 miles over 6 continents, 68 countries, in 8 years. It's an unbelievable journey in a sidecar in the 20s. And so there's a couple things here. One, it's interesting. The guy wrote a book. It was called Around the World on a Motorcycle, 1928 to 1936, which is a pretty wild title for a book. What it ended up being was an interesting snapshot of the globe between the world wars, right? Because it was pre-World War II. Which of course they didn't know World War II was going to happen, so they didn't mean to do that. But that's what it ended up being, was this interesting kind of snapshot of humanity and society around the world with these two guys that took off. But what a story that is. Agreed?
Yeah, I think anytime you look at, just talking about the books for a second, like there's like Travels with Charlie, there's a book called Blue Highways. Like there's all these really interesting books where at the time people were like, oh, I'm just going to go do this trip and write about it. And it ends up being a real historical marker and look at a specific snapshot in time. And any of those books, right. I'm a sucker for it, and I love that stuff. But yeah, that's an amazing story. And as soon as you said Zoltán, all I could think of was Ghostbusters with the guy that comes out of the painting, and it's like it reminds me of like a Ghostbusters bad guy.
I thought you were going to say the Adam Sandler movie. Wasn't there an Adam Sandler movie where he was like an Israeli hair stylist named Zoltán? I
don't know. Maybe.
I'm really reaching.
I would say I'm a big fan of Adam Sandler movies. That one doesn't ring a bell.
Well,
no, that's a great story.
I know what to get you for Christmas because the book was translated from Hungarian to English in 2008. So, I perhaps I will get you around the world on a motorcycle, 1928 to 1936, and you can read the tale of these two Hungarian guys on a Harley that went around the world. Just fantastic. So anyway, another quick.
You can also photocopy that article and just fax it over to me on the old RevZilla fax machine. I'll take a peek at it.
Okay, perfect. Anyway, one last thing there. Quick tap on the shoulder to the folks at Guinness Book. What about the Hungarian dudes? You know, we got these British folks that were around the world as a team when they rode 104,000 miles. My man Zoltan and his buddy here around the world 110,000 miles in 1936. I don't know. Just
presumably that's a team, right? That's two
wow.
people.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, it's a sidecar, so, not two separate motorcycles, but come on. You got to know that these folks from England, Simon and Monica there, hats off to you. Your trip was amazing. But how about these guys? Yeah,
in some cases, riding a sidecar is even more difficult than riding a motorcycle, especially depending on where you have to get
It's more
through.
difficult.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Speaking of most achievable and beatable, I actually picked a three-wheeled vehicle as well, and I picked this not for me. I actually picked this for you. So this is one that I bet that you could beat based on if, for those of you tuning in that have not listened to our episode on passengers, Zach has had years of experience commanding a sidecar motorcycle, both on and off a racetrack. He and his dad have done sidecar racing, and he can command a three-wheeled vehicle very impressively, aside from that story that he told us when Ari was on where he careened a sidecar into an Oldsmobile. So this record is farthest distance for a side-wheel driving motorcycle. So let me explain what that is. Picture like a rickshaw, like a three-wheeled vehicle with like one wheel in the front, two wheels in the back.
Gotcha, like a tuk-tuk.
Yes, exactly like a tuk-tuk. It was a tuk-tuk. And the person rode his tuk-tuk up on two wheels. So he basically balanced it.
Yep.
Picture like floating the sidecar rig, right?
Sure. Gotcha.
And they were able to balance it on two wheels in his tuk-tuk for 1.37 miles. So that was the farthest distance side-wheel driving. And they have it as an auto rickshaw, but yeah, they have him as a 27-year-old tuk-tuk driver in Mumbai, India, and his name is I'm gonna butcher this.
Yeah, give it a try.
Yagish Thish M, 27-year-old tuk-tuk driver in Mumbai, India. So. Yeah, I picked that one for you because I figured, with your sidecar experience, Zach, you can probably float a sidecar or a tuk-tuk at least 1.37 miles.
I have to say, I am surprised that the number is that low. I would think I would think that someone in Mumbai, even just in Mumbai, let alone the rest of the world, would be able to ride a tuk-tuk at least that far, if not farther. On two wheels. I would say that's surprising. I'm surprised the number is that low. That being said, I've never tried to ride a tuk-tuk on two wheels, so maybe it's very, very difficult. I want to know. So for this record, is if you were to ride a motorcycle with a sidecar, which is technically three wheels, and just float the sidecar for 1.4 miles, would that beat the record? Well, I don't, good question. It shouldn't, in my opinion, because I think I have not spent very much time, maybe even any time, I'm trying to think, in control of a tuk-tuk. But I would think that a symmetrical vehicle with one wheel in the front and two wheels in the back is harder to control on two wheels than a sidecar, which of course is a motorcycle with a contraption dangling off the side of it. And when you ride a sidecar, it's depending on the rig, fairly easy to float the chair or lift the sidecar up and ride on just the two wheels of the motorcycle. So I don't think that should count.
The trick is to not float it too far, because if you float it too far,
then you hit an Oldsmobile. We covered that. Yeah,
exactly.
You can only ride a sidecar for so long before you hit an Oldsmobile, everybody. Just pro tip here from High Side.
Do you think are you up for the challenge? If we got you a tuk-tuk, do you think you could, make it 1.4 miles? I mean, if you're going to give me a book for Christmas, I get you a tuk-tuk for Christmas.
Great. So I'm going to give you a book to read on your Christmas vacation, and you're going to give me a broken clavicle. I really appreciate that. That's nice of you. Yeah, if you get me a tuk-tuk, I'll take a stab at it, Spurge.
All right. Well, that's the one that I had for most achievable / beatable.
Right. So, okay, this is a tricky one because as far as which one, we have to agree now, which one is more attainable / beatable. This is difficult because we don't know how hard it is to ride a tuk-tuk on 2 wheels.
Was there a time limit in your pick? Did they have to like do 104,000 miles in under a certain amount of time?
No, they did it. Let me see. They did it took them 3 years, I think. They left in 2002 and it was 2005. So whatever, approximately 3 years. But I don't think there's a time limit. So realistically, I think the 2-up or whatever, the longest journey on a motorcycle parentheses team is pretty attainable because all you need is time.
I agree.
Which of course you and I do not have.
Exactly.
But
I think
if you did have it.
Yeah, I think that if there was a time limit on this and I had to like ship you a tuk-tuk for a week down at like an airport and like you were just gonna go back and forth down like a runway at an airport in a tuk-tuk trying to like nail that challenge, that would probably be more achievable from like a timing standpoint. But no, I agree with you. I think that like either one of us, if we said we're going to give you have to do it under 5 years and you have to do it with somebody else. I think the trickiest part about yours is doing it with somebody else and not wanting to kill him. Like I could probably do a solo trip and be completely fine.
Maybe that's the subtlety that I didn't pick up on that challenge. It's like longest motorcycle journey without murdering the other person because you were so sick of hanging out with them.
And no matter how close you are with the other person, right? And I think COVID's been a perfect example of this because you're kind of stuck in your house all the time with your significant other. You still hit a point where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Get me the hell out of the house. And I would imagine that on a motorcycle trip, it's probably something very similar. So
yeah. Yep.
But either way, I'm gonna give it to you on this one. I'm gonna say that because I probably would not be able to have a good time balancing a tuk-tuk, at least not as easy as you would. And I think we could probably, based on the amount of motorcycle miles you've put under your saddle and I've put under mine, I would have no problem trying to do 110,000 miles around the world. I would actually find that fun if I could get somebody to, just cover my bills for the next 3 years.
Fair enough. Okay, so you're putting a check mark next to my name.
It gets a Z, not a check mark. Come on, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah. Z
sorry. For Zach.
I should have known better. Yep. So,
and by the way, as far as shipping me a book for Christmas, I mailed you that book about the Appalachian Trail store, the one that I had the T-shirt on the other day. Just FYI,
you did? Okay.
You have a little gift coming in the mail for yourself.
That's so
lovely little book.
That's so sweet of you.
Just passing through. If anybody out there wants to read a great book about hiking in the Appalachian Trail, just passing through.
I would, not that it's hugely important, but I would like everyone to know. I'm just going to go into my notepad on my phone here. I have a notepad called Books, Shows, Movies where I put recommendations, and you can see I put just passing through from Spurge on.
I see it.
On my books thing. So I was paying attention, man. But that's so nice of you. I'm going to send you a picture of this article that I wrote. So I guess we're even.
Yeah. No, that's great. Just send it over in the fax machine and we'll be good. And
okay.
Just a picture of an article that Zach wrote, sending it to everybody he knows. All right. So the third category. So we are already moving on to the third category. But before we do it, before we go into number 3, let's get in a word.
You people know what needs to happen. Yes.
Let's get in a word from our sponsor, Moto. All right, so jumping right back into category 3, and if you're just tuning in, which I don't know why you would start a podcast in the middle of a podcast, but Zach and I are tied. We're 1 for 1 in picking the top for each category, and the next category we're going to go with is most dangerous. This is someone that has created an award for something or given a record for something in Guinness that has been the most dangerous. And I'm just going to go ahead and go first because I'm already talking. Oh, my God. I've got a guy named Zoltan from Hungary, too.
Get out of here.
Dude, I
must be
you not. So here's mine. So the record that I went with is the smallest distance between an airplane and a motorcycle during a mid-air crossing. So some dude in a motorcycle and some other person in a plane decided it'd be a good idea to fly a plane and jump a motorcycle in front of it and see how close they could get. The record they set was from Zoltan Veres and Galeas Kiss Zoltan. So apparently Zoltan is one of the person's first names, and it's also one of the person's last names. That's how they do things in Hungary.
Turns out it's a very popular name in Hungary.
They got within 9 feet. So the record was set in Hungary at 7 feet 11.28 inches. So this person jumped a motorcycle in front of a plane and came within 7 feet of it. Here's what I want to know. How the hell do you measure that? Like, this happened in 2008.
That's my first question.
So, like, there is some technology in 2008. But, like, how do the physics of the measurement work for that?
I agree. Also, like, what kind of plane was it? What kind of bike was it? What was the set? Do we know anything about that?
That was not given in the Guinness. We'd have to probably do some research for the audience, which I didn't do because, much like my teenage years, I really don't like doing homework even as an adult. So I didn't really dig in any further of this. I mean, Zach brought props and everything else. I did not come that equipped. But to me...
You did spend more time in the Guinness book list than I did. I'll say that because... so far, 2 of the 3 things you've presented, I did not see on the list anywhere. So obviously you did some research there. So you should be credited for that. But I gotta say, it's different if it's like a propeller plane, they're going in front of it, or if it's like a glider, or if it's like I don't know. It's probably not a glider, but you know what I mean?
They said plane.
It depends, right?
So, I mean, I would be more terrified. I don't know. Here's a question. Would you be more terrified of a propeller plane, which is going to chop you to bits like Indiana Jones when he's out looking for the lost ark? Or would you be more afraid of a jet plane, which is going to suck you into the jet engine? Like, which one's more terrifying?
These are questions that I hoped I would never have to answer.
Exactly, because it's not normal. Like, nobody wakes up as a motorcyclist and is like, let's have some fun today, Zach. I got an idea. I'm going to go get in the Cessna. You get on the Gixxer, and we're just going to just jump and see who can do it the most. So
I like that the record is about jumping, and you went with the GSX-R as the jumping bike.
In retrospect, I should have gone with like a dirt bike. I would be like,
anyway.
Yeah. I'm guessing it was a dirt bike. It doesn't say, but I'm guessing it was probably a dirt bike.
Presumably a dirt bike. Yeah. I wonder. Yeah, there's a lot of questions. I got a lot of questions about this sort of arithmetic that went into like jumping. Yeah, I'm going to jump, and you're going to get as close to me as you can. We got the timing there is frightening. That's very dangerous. I gotta say. I don't know if I have any other.
Someone could die. That's how I know it's dangerous. Nobody normally goes out on a motorcycle and be like, you know what I'm gonna do today? Let's just toss the dice on death. Like, that's how I enjoy riding a motorcycle. But this guy, Zoltan, that's his game.
That's his game. That's how the Hungarians do it, apparently.
What do you got for me? What's your death-defying, dangerous Guinness record?
Right. My record was set in Germany, 2005. Fastest motorcycle wheelie on a tightrope.
That's a thing?
Pretty impressive, right?
How far was the tightrope off the ground? Was this like a tightrope in between 2 skyscrapers? Like the guy that went across the World Trade Towers? Like, was it high up in the air?
Riding, it says solid trapeze attached to the motorcycle, person sitting on it to balance the motorcycle, riding on one wheel at a height of 131 feet.
That's 13 stories. That's pretty. That's death if you come off of there. Yeah.
As far as I can tell, I tried to find a video of it, but I couldn't. I found some video of this thing happening, but not this specific.
Do you ever watch The Office?
Anyway. Yeah.
All I can think of is, remember when Michael Scott decides he's going to ride the bicycle on the tightrope, and he like ties like or maybe it wasn't Michael Scott. It was Dwight, and he's trying to impress him, and he like hangs a printer from the balance of a bicycle for balance, and he takes the tires off, and he tries to like ride, and the bicycle flips upside down, and he's like hanging from the tightrope. That's all I can think of. Anyway.
Well, presumably Johann Traber in Germany was he thought it through better than Dwight Schrute did. But anyway,
what kind of motorcycle was it?
That's my pick for. I don't
Doesn't
have that answer either. I love that we each have so many questions for the other person. We're like, what kind of bike did you use? What kind of plane did you use? What kind of bike was on the tightrope? How high was it? Then what happened? And we're all sort of like, I don't know, the Guinness book said.
It sounds like the information you did say is that there was someone acting as a ballast on this one. So it wasn't just one person. It was actually a person riding the motorcycle, and then there was a ballast person. Is that correct?
Well, that is what it says. But I feel like the person sitting on it to balance the motorcycle might have been Johan. Oh no, I see what you mean. You're right. I think the phrasing. I think there's a ballast of someone else on the trapeze underneath, which is, by the way, kind of same thing as the stoppie. If you're the other person in this act, you're probably a little bit nervous as well, right?
You're 130 feet in the air. I would be pooping myself. So yes, I'd be nervous too.
Okay.
Either way, well, I think that one's dangerous just from a difficulty standpoint, right? Like, don't get me wrong, timing an airplane and a dirt bike and jumping in front of a plane in the middle of the air, like that takes some talent. But like doing a wheelie whilst on a tight rope is
right.
Batty.
Yeah. So you're saying that is your argument that the airplane, that the jumping the motorcycle as close as possible to the airplane is more dangerous because it's more stupid and less technically, like less skill is involved?
I was just making a comment that one is arguably requiring more talent to achieve. Like even I can jump a dirt bike, right? Like, and I'm not the best at anything in life, but like even if I have enough speed and a big enough ramp, I can get a dirt bike in the air. Now I wouldn't.
Now the landing, on the other hand,
I wouldn't wait for a plane to come by for me to be like, all right, let's time this jump.
Yes,
but I think with doing a wheelie on a tightrope, like just the geometry of all that, like it's one thing to be able to do a wheelie and hold a wheelie. It's another thing to do that whilst on a piece of rope. So I don't know. I can't say that one is more dangerous than the other. I can say that one probably requires more skill than the other.
So is the one that requires more skill more dangerous? I would say no.
I would say no, just because I don't want to give you another win. So that's where I would say no.
I'm loath to give you the win here. I don't want to roll over, but I gotta say, just the fact that the jumping next to the airplane, were the motorcycle and the plane, the paths, were they perpendicular? Was he was jumping across the front of the airplane? Or did they just jump next to each other? Because that would change everything.
From what I understand, it was a jumping in front of the plane. Because it says jump the motorcycle, it says right here, jump the motorcycle in front of a plane in flight and got within 9 feet of getting hit. So yeah, jumped in front of a plane. Let's do this. Let's pause this one for right now. I'm going to put this one as a draw in my little notes here, and we will come back at the end. People are going to be very
disappointed. We're not going to draw. We're not going to tie. Don't worry.
We're going to come back. We're going to come back. Like, you got to listen to the end of the podcast, and then Zach and I are going to come back and we're going to revisit Most Dangerous. But let's move on, and I'm going to have you take number 4.
That's only fair. This is this one's I think this one's going to be kind of fun because it's this category's most pointless is the category that we were given. Find the most pointless record that you can find. And okay, so mine is most motorcycles sold by country. This is a pointless record to me. I have no idea why.
It's not a record.
It's going to be one of two countries. Everybody knows, right? And also, like, does anyone? They're not trying to. No one's trying to achieve this, right? Like, no country is like, you know what we're setting out to do this fiscal year.
It's a sales statistic.
Exactly. It's just it's interesting, I guess, in so much as it is a barometer for how popular motorcycling is in that country, and that's well.
Time out. Is this most motorcycles sold in a country, or is this the country of manufacturer and origin that has sold the most motorcycles? So, for example, right, like, is this like America has consumed the most motorcycles, or is this Japan has built?
Consumers? No, I think consumers within the country. I think sold within the country, I believe, which is different than a country producing a number of motorcycles than like the gross product of the. Although, maybe let me see. I'm checking the article. Yeah.
And just so everyone's listening, Europe is not a country; it's a continent.
And we haven't even said who it is, but you probably figured it out. It was India.
I was going to guess. Damn it, man! You didn't even give me a chance, and I was going to say India, but now the audience isn't going to believe me.
It was a 50-50 between India and China, and they sell the most motorcycles because they have the most people. And so, interestingly, the piece that I found noted that India placed 4th in total value of motorcycles sold. So there's basically like
they're buying a lot of cheap motorcycles, is what you're saying?
The motorcycles are pretty cheap, I think, is what this is suggesting. So that there's a lot of volume in India and China, but for like a country like Germany or Japan, they make a lot of motorcycles in value wise because they sell a lot of bikes that are expensive.
So there's another fun fact in there.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, isn't Royal? So I read a statistic where I think Royal Enfield has finally surpassed. Was it somebody other than Royal Enfield? I thought Royal Enfield was like killing it in sales because of the fact that they've got such a huge market in India.
I think it's like Bajaj or Hero Honda, or I think those are the two companies.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Anyway, there are a lot of there are companies like that make. There are companies that a lot of people that ride motorcycles in the United States have never heard of that make ungodly amounts of motorcycles.
Yeah.
in these countries. Most of them are the sort of they're 110 to 150 cc air cooled 2-valve.
Salt of the earth motorcycles for salt of the earth people. Exactly.
Indeed, makes the society tick over there. It's a fantastic thing to see in my opinion. But anyway, the point is, this is my pick for most pointless. I don't see why it's more of an economic record, or not even a record, an economic ledger note. Like this is the country that's making the most motorcycles. So I guess you learn something here and there, but there's no texture to it. No one's trying to beat it. It's a note.
And they're not setting out to break a record. They're setting out to make more profit for their company, right? Like this isn't something they were trying to do. It's just a little tick in a box.
I think it's a silly thing to have in the Guinness book. I think it's pointless. Hey, Spurgeon, I think it's pointless. So
I'll tell you what, I think I've got something even more pointless than that. The only difference is that mine is in fact a record. It's just a stupid one. The record was most times passing through a tennis racket while riding a motorcycle for 3 minutes. Let it sink in.
Sorry, back up. Yeah, back up.
Most times passing through a tennis racket while riding a motorcycle for 3 minutes. First of all,
right. Ask the obvious question.
3 minutes is an arbitrary number.
That's not.
But that wasn't the obvious question. The obvious question was
ask.
They took a tennis racket and they cut all of the, I don't know, lacing? Strings? Tennis racket strings? Nylon? Out of it. And whilst riding the motorcycle, passed themselves through the tennis racket. So they were riding, put one hand through.
I thought that they had to ride the motorcycle through the tennis racket with themselves. And I'm like, whose tennis racket are you using for this? Or what motorcycle? Or whatever. So the person is riding the motorcycle and they pass themselves through the tennis racket head to toe.
That's
how many
the
times
only
did they do
thing
it?
I could think of. So there was not a lot of information on this one. They didn't have the amount of times.
How many times did they do it?
They didn't have that.
What?
I'll find it. I'll update it in the comments section if I can find it. But there was very little information because it's like the one thing I had in my notes was a big what with a question mark behind it. So yeah, very, very vague in details. It sounds like an individual got a tennis racket, cut the strings off, rode a motorcycle, and passed himself through for 3 minutes while somebody else watched.
Perhaps.
Or herself. There's no details. I can't tell you if it was a him or her or what have you. So I thought that but that's just pointless in the fact of like, who does that? That's not a record.
Right.
Like, it's like why not do it with a hula hoop? A hula hoop has already got the strings cut out of it. It's a hoop.
A hula hoop is already designed for a human body to be in the middle of it.
This would have to be a
arguably
pretty
makes
small
more
person.
sense.
I couldn't fit my body. This is something I could never do because I couldn't fit my body through a tennis racket. I'm a big guy. I got broad shoulders.
You would not fit through a tennis racket. No,
wouldn't want
part
to.
of your
I wouldn't want
torso.
to. It's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm secure enough in my lifestyle that like if I can't pass my oversized body through a tennis racket, I'm not losing any sleep over that tonight.
So, what is more pointless? A record of the most motorcycles sold by a country, which has already been broken. It's being broken right now, presumably. This is a record on the Guinness World Record site that was from 2017, but there's no way that they didn't sell more motorcycles in 2018 or 2019 or 2020. Is there? There's no way. I don't see how. Maybe 2017 was the big year. Maybe that was the. Anyway, one thing I do want to clarify, and I hope that I can do this. Where's my Yeah, sorry. I didn't even say the number. There are people out there that are shouting at their iPhones, right, or their cell phones right now, because I never said the number. 17.6 million motorcycles in 2017. So that's the idea of the scale we're talking about here,
for just what India consumed.
Yes, or produced. We're not sure. Who knows? The point is 17.6 million motorcycles, which is amazing. But again, I just don't think that it didn't just get broken right away again.
Yeah,
right? How could it not?
I think it's pointless in the fact that it's not really a record. I guess I picked one that I thought was more pointless as far as like, it's kind of a record, but like, who the hell cares? Yeah, I don't know.
I think I'm going to argue for myself here. The record of keeping track of which country sells the most motorcycles is it's going to get broken again next year, and it's not something anyone's trying for, and it's completely pointless, and it shouldn't be in the Guinness book because it doesn't matter. This person who passed themselves through a tennis racket this is extremely stupid because it makes no sense. And they could say, if someone else passes themselves through a tennis racket while riding a motorcycle the most times in 5 minutes, they could say, wow, but I did it. I was the one that did it in 3 minutes. So, I'm the one that.
So I'm going to give
but I do think that this record does. It's a niche they found, and the record will probably stand for quite some time.
I'm going to side with you. So just so the audience is aware, under the caption, under the heading rather of most pointless, our producer had actually put in quotation marks, "Why is this even a record?" So if we're going under the working orders of why is this even a record, then Zach, I have to give it to you. You won that one because, frankly, I agree. It's a sales statistic. It's not a record. And as stupid as passing yourself through a tennis racket is, in some people's minds, that would actually be a record. So I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to give a little Z, not for Zorro, but for Zach.
Okay. Zach. Do you want to? I feel like honestly we should revisit the what was before this? Most dangerous. Most dangerous. Yeah, we should revisit that one. I don't want the.
I was gonna bring it back around as the
tiebreaker at the end. I don't think we should do that. I think the last category should be the tiebreaker because that's more exciting than going back to most dangerous and then hemming and hawing over that.
All right, so I'm
gonna, for the sake of entertainment value, I feel obligated to give you the nod on this one. And here's my reasoning.
I don't need a reason. I'm already putting my name down. We're good. I'll take it. Go ahead. What's your reasoning? I'm just kidding. Tell us.
It's just like, it's more outrageous. The guy who did a wheelie on a tightrope, that's crazy dangerous, right? But like he'd done this before. He's like, the consequences of getting hit by a plane while you're jumping a motorcycle is that to me is just like more ridiculously stupid and dangerous than someone who presumably knows how to do a wheelie on a motorcycle and knows how to balance on a tightrope and combine those things.
I'm not going to argue against you, Zach. You've already given me the win, so that means that we are going into our tie-breaking pick, and this is going to be most odd.
So the weirdest record that we could find.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? See, we're tied now, right? So you almost want to wait until after I go, and then I want to wait until after you go. So there's a lot of pressure here.
I know. Well, we each picked two, just so everyone knows. We each picked two of these, and we're going with our strongest foot forward so that we'd be prepared no matter what.
And we also picked two of these because presumably we had so much fun doing this episode that we're going to do it again. So just if you liked what we're doing here with these wacky stories, feel free to leave a comment either on YouTube or shoot us an email. Let us know you like what we're doing.
Okay.
I'll go first. I'll go first.
You go first on this one because it's your turn anyway, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the tiebreaker. So this is most odd. I went with the record for fastest motorized bathroom. This was built in China. Oh no, I'm sorry.
You're kidding.
I'm sorry. No. It was built by the individual's name is Ed China. EDD
What?
China. I know. I was like, I thought that was a country. It was actually in the UK. And it was timed.
That makes more sense.
And it was timed in Milan, Italy. So Ed China is the individual that built it. Then took his motorized bathroom to Milan in Italy on March 10th, 2011. And it is the fastest motorized bathroom it's a motorcycle with a sidecar, and the sidecar has a hidden bathroom which consists of a toilet, a bathtub, a sink, and a laundry bin. So they built this whole working bathroom. Now I don't
want to know what happens when he flushes, but
exactly.
carry on.
Apparently, it's just the person behind you gets
I think
splattered.
I know what happens. Yep, correct.
They went to a top speed of 42.25 miles an hour.
And
the bike's controls are hidden in the sink. So apparently the sink actually is on the handlebars for the motorcycle. The vehicle is taxed, insured, and licensed for the road. And the bathtub is a sidecar that you can put a passenger in, or you could presumably take a bath in. The one thing it doesn't have is where the actual toilet is located. And it seems like the toilet would be located on the passenger seat of the motorcycle. So it would be sink, toilet, and then bathtub for cleaning yourself. And fully functional. It's insured, it's licensed, it's taxed, and it can be ridden on the road. And top speed of 42.25 miles an hour. And it looks like they've got pictures of this. So producer is holding up. I can probably just pull this up on the screen as opposed to trying to show you this.
Have the burn put it on the screen that way.
But hang on, I want you to see it though. So it appears that the toilet is the seat. So the toilet is the seat of the motorcycle, and you sit on the toilet. Then there's a bathtub, and then the sink is the handlebar.
That's too bad. As someone who has gone to the bathroom while riding a motorcycle, I can tell you it's a lot harder than you think.
You used a catheter though, didn't you?
I did. A Texas catheter, they call it. It goes around.
Give us the details of that one. That's not safe for work, Zach. Not safe for work.
I'm just saying it wasn't a catheter in a classical sense, because I don't think anyone would want to ride a motorcycle with that going on. Anyway,
the final point that I want to say here is that I'm surprised it wasn't able to go faster than 42 miles an hour.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, you didn't put that down as most beatable, most achievable. I bet you could make a motorized bathroom. A motorcycle sidecar has a bathroom that you could go 50 miles an hour.
But would you want to? Like, that's a lot of money and time and investment in for a pretty odd pick. Like,
this all goes back to the fact that all of these things we're talking about are kind of stupid. And, yeah. Except we started with most impressive. Those were good.
I actually had a couple on here that didn't get picked for this round that I'm hoping we do this again, because I did have some fun that I actually thought were like, these are actually ones that were pretty good. But that's not what we're doing right now. Right now we're doing oddest. My pick was fastest motorized bathroom. What do you got for us?
Extremely odd. Mine is similar, actually.
Time out. You know what's extremely odd is that these people from UK, and they didn't call it a water closet. They called it a bathroom. Ridiculous.
Fastest
water
loo.
Closet loo.
Anyway, mine, also from the UK. So, all you listeners in England,
some weird,
hold your heads
weird
high.
Folks over there in England.
Well, this is not technically. I don't think this guy is English.
Okay.
But
Wales.
But in the British Isles, the United Kingdom, which is anyway, whatever.
It's a whole other story.
Fastest motorcycle hearse. Would you like to know, Spurgeon Dunbar, how fast the world's fastest motorcycle hearse is?
How fast can it get that body to the grave?
Never fast enough. Why don't you guess? Take a stab.
It's either like I'm torn because I want to say like 130 miles an hour, but then I'm also thinking like the world's fastest bathroom on wheels can only go It can only go 42.
Fair.
78 miles an hour.
126.6 miles an hour. So if you had guessed 130, you would have been close.
Is that with a casket in it?
Good question.
Is that fully loaded with a dead body?
Okay, relax.
Chase pulled up a picture of this one as well, and we'll have Bernie pull this up on the screen. But I just want you to be able to see it.
So, no, I've seen it. I did a bunch of research on this guy.
Okay.
I went down a rabbit hole yesterday researching this guy. His name is Paul Sinclair. Hang on. Let me pull up the article because he is a pastor
that also likes to get the bodies from the church to the grave as fast as possible.
Correct. He's a Glaswegian, so he's Scottish, I believe. So the article says, this article on The Guardian, if you want to look him up, Paul Sinclair, some people call him the faster pastor. Others call him the quicker vicar, and some have even called him the tomb rider. It's all gold. It's straight gold. God. So I thought that this was a goof. This is his business. This is literally his business. Yeah, he's got a whole fleet of motorcycle sidecar hearses, and so I don't know which one was used for this, but the person that wrote this article, Stuart Jeffries at The Guardian, wrote this article. So thank you, Stuart, for doing this. He rode. Let me see. So he says, blah, blah, blah. He's astride a 1300cc Suzuki Hayabusa, and I'm in the sidecar with no safety belt, but clutching the helmet that's far too big for my head. I'm exhilarated as he throttles down and overtakes a Ford, but at the same time very much aware that this is a near-death experience. Only later does the troubling thought occur to me that all of his clients are dead. Dude, it's just tremendous. It's a great story. And I couldn't not bring this to the table as most odd, because it was just like, fastest motorcycle hearse, are you kidding me? That's so weird. And then it turns out it's not actually, like, it wasn't a one-off, it wasn't a goofy piece of BS that he chased. This is his thing. He's the quicker vicar.
So
he's the faster pastor.
Dude, I'll give it to you just for quicker vicar. Like I will put the Z next to your name. No need
to give me the win.
No, I mean the funny nicknames alone, the faster pastor, quicker vicar, and then what was the last one you said?
Tomb Rider.
Dude, you said quicker vicar and you got me on that. So
it's too much.
I'm going to give it to you.
Okay. Well, in my defense, I think that I might deserve the win here. It's not most odd in so much as, like, it's sort of not even odd because it's a business, right? Like, it's his thing that he does. But I almost think that makes it the most odd because it's an actual facet of his life. It wasn't like,
who's his clientele? Like, is it just like motorcyclists that want to go to the grave in a motorcycle, or is it like people that just want something different?
I'm gonna have to send you the link to the article, because Mr. Jeffries here does a great job breaking some of it down. He transported. It gets a little bit macabre and a little. It gets a little weird. Yeah. Sort of like the faster pastor, Mr. Sinclair, says that it helps people with grieving. So he's like, sometimes like the wife will want to ride on the back of the motorcycle and the husband's in the casket so that she feels close to him as they go to the grave. It is a little weird, I will admit it, but I'm just taken with the story, and I think it's sort of like sweet and kind of heartwarming and truly bizarre all at the same time.
Would you? Is that how you want to go?
Yes,
you want to get a ride. You want to get a ride with the quicker vicar?
I mean, I don't know if he's. I might want to vet him a little bit first. I'm not sure, and I don't want this to be my last will and testament here. Like if
do you realize that like this means that like while you're going to the grave, your wife is riding on the back of the Quicker Vickers motorcycle. So
no,
like,
I don't want that for her.
Exactly.
No.
You don't want to put her through that.
Many years down the road, if this is what it comes to, and she makes, I don't want someone to reference this podcast as me saying that that's what I wanted. She can do what she thinks is best. The baby Jeebus Willen that she's still around.
Oh my
but
God.
The point is, I spent 30 minutes looking up pictures of this guy. He has a website. Hang on. He has a website.
30 minutes? I think I spent 30 minutes on this entire assignment. You spent 30 minutes reading about the Quicker Vicar.
Motorcycle Funerals Limited. He started in 2002. And there's a website, motorcyclefunerals.com. You can go, you can see I can't encourage people enough to go check this out. It's amazing. No, I'm not encouraging people to expire and then use his services. I
can't encourage people enough. If you're going to go fast with the Quicker Vicar.
Oh, that should be his tagline. If you're going to go fast. I love it. Print the t-shirt.
We can sell him that one. All right, so let's move on, but let's just go ahead and I'm going to say it. Zach has won. We've had 5 categories. Zach has bested me 3 out of the 5 times. I'll give him a
Thank you
golf clap for that.
Please, people.
Bravo, sir. But now we get to move on to the final portion of the podcast, and this is going to be listeners' comments, where we go through both YouTube, we go through emails, and sometimes, occasionally, we'll pull a random iTunes review to discuss the comments that you have left for Zach Quartz and Spurgeon Dunbar.
Righto.
Why don't you start off?
So jumping right in, first comment is from Kevo Palapala. Kevo? I'm not sure. I'm going to go with...
Kevo Palapala. Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go with Kevo. Kevo has a bone to pick with us. Says, guys, I waited the whole show. Sorry, this is in reference to the episode we did on passengers, riding as a passenger accommodations, that kind of thing.
It was a fun episode,
Kevo says,
by the way. I enjoyed that one.
Okay, I did as well. Kevo says, guys, I waited the whole episode for practical do's and don'ts as passenger or pilot when actually 2 up. Body position, what to do. Simple basics weren't even touched on. Coach your passenger. Even their head movement looking through a corner could help a bunch. Being smooth, slipping the clutch. Kevo says, you could have done better, guys. And we wanted to address this as, first of all, as sort of a formal apology to Kevo. We're sorry that we let you down on this one. But we would like to say that this was intentional to a certain extent, was it not, Spurgeon Dunbar?
Yeah, so we're not going to give riding tips and rider advice in any real serious capacity on a podcast where we can't really, show you what we're talking about. That's where our how-to video content comes into play. But also, that's also why I gave the recommendation for Total Control, which was the Lee Parks book, because I said, like, hey, if you're really struggling with how to do this, you should go read this book. It's got a fantastic chapter walking you through. And I would also like to say to Kevo that, like, we did give some tips. We talked about the fact that, like, my mistake was not realizing that when a passenger is moving around in the back, it's going to affect me and it's going to cause me to fall over. And then I'm laying on the side of a trail in Malibu looking out at the beautiful sunset with a motorcycle on top of me. So I do feel like we did give some tips. Did we not? Did we not, Zach?
I think we did. I think that Kevo's expectations were different, and that's fair. And like I said, we're very sorry to disappoint, for sure. But we did, as I said, it was sort of intentional. We didn't want to issue hard and fast advice for every person and say, you should always do this and you should always do that. What we wanted to do was say, here are some experiences that we've had where we've made mistakes, and here are some things that you should think about. Like taking it easy when you ride. We didn't tell you to how to control the clutch with a passenger on the back. So maybe we missed the mark there, but I think our hope is that you know how to control a clutch. And when we tell you to be careful when there's someone on the back, that you will put 2 and 2 together.
We talked about keeping speeds low. We talked about not trying to scare the person. We talked about a lot of that stuff.
So actually, come to think of it, perhaps Kevo suffered through something that High Side, Low Side listeners suffer through occasionally, which is that they fell asleep. And they didn't hear part of the podcast.
The problem is all the people that talk about listening to the podcast while riding a motorcycle, and then they just fall asleep at the handlebars. Right. It is a real problem out there, folks. So
anyway,
don't
point
fall
being,
asleep.
correct. We're sorry we let you down, Kivo. We will try to either issue more comprehensive caveats in our advice in the future, or perhaps dig down a little bit further. And in the meantime, thank you for your comment and thank you for listening. So we'll try and do better next time.
And if you are really trying to figure out better tips for a passenger, again, Total Control by Lee Parks, fantastic book, and he goes through a lot of what to do and what not to do, and frankly, he gives better advice than either Zach or I could. So definitely check out that book. You can find it used for next to nothing at this point. But let's move right along from Kivo, unless you wanted to add something else.
I didn't. I was going to say high side comment number 2. Let's go.
This is from Dravitron 4000. It's also sounds very similar to what makes my coffee in the morning. Dravitron 4000 writes in and says, do you guys think that being this is another one of the passenger ones. There's another comment on the passenger episode. Do you guys think that being a passenger should be part of the MSF curriculum so that everyone who gets the license is aware of what it's like to ride with a passenger, basically? Zach,
this is a great question. This is a great
question.
Yep. And so everyone knows MSF is Motorcycle Safety Foundation, and they have long been the sort of spearhead of motorcycle training, and where you get your that's where I got my little certificate to go to DMV to be like, I took the training, I have the thing, I took the test, I get my license. Thank you very much. And
it's free in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, we get it if you get your motorcycle permit, you can actually take the course for free, which is cool. I don't know if you can still can. It was free for me. Yeah.
Yeah, my course wasn't free, but I did get a discount on insurance. Yeah, having shown that I took the course, which is a nice. Yeah, nice. Anyway, this is a great question, and I do think that it should be part of the MSF curriculum. I think that the MSF curriculum should arguably be more intense. I think we could go down a bit of a rabbit hole about driver and rider training in the United States, and how, like, I think it's arguably too easy to get a driver's license, and maybe even it's too easy to get a motorcycle license. I think a lot of the reason that people do well in the MSF course or do well in their motorcycle testing is that they're enthusiastic about it, right? It's not just they already have their license, they already can drive a car, they want to do this thing, they want to go there, they want to learn, and that's, I think that patches a lot of the holes in what they actually teach you. Not that the MSF course is bad, it isn't at all. They do a good job talking about front brake and rear brake and turning and where to look and how to balance
clutch
the bike
control, low speed
exactly stuff. It is good, it's very, very good, but considering the gravity of riding a motorcycle around on public roads, I do think that it could expand it, and expanding it into passenger accommodations would be very smart, in my opinion. You, Spurge?
I agree, and I think that we walk a dangerous line anytime we talk about making restrictions harder, because there's always people out there that are like, this is America and we have freedom here. And I love freedom. I do. But I'm not going to leave Zach hanging. I agree with Zach. I think that right now, auto testing in its own is way too easy. It's way too easy to get a driver's license. And I can tell you that because every time I drive home, I see people doing stupid on the roads. And I'm like, how did you get a license? But I think this is a great comment, Travitron. I'm disappointed that we didn't think of it, to be honest with you, for the episode. Because, I mean, nobody taught me that. Everything we were talking about in the episode was that no one taught us how to ride with a passenger. We figured it out, and we made mistakes. And that goes back to the first comment where, like, our hope was that we could explain some of the mistakes we made and that you could learn from those mistakes. Now, like we apologized earlier, maybe we could have done a better job kind of going in depth with some of the detail stuff, but that really wasn't what the episode about. The episode was more about, like, hey, learn from what we've done wrong and don't make the same mistakes. And to this point, like, I think one of the mistakes we made was not thinking about this. So great comment, and I would agree with that. Good
to layer on top of Kivo's comment about how we let he or she down, him or her down. Anyway, good comment, Travitron. Hopefully our dreams will come true when it comes to that. So moving on to last comment number 3. This is from Nick in Venice, California, who said, "What are your thoughts on personal/private motorcycle sharing platforms like Twisted Road and RiderShare? Is it worth sharing your bike? Would you do it? Have you used anything like that, and how was your experience?" Which I think is a fantastic question. So I'll let you take this one away, Spurge.
I was going to say, I was thinking about this as we were planning it out. We should have saved this comment for a podcast that Ari Henning was on, because exactly. I know he's actually doing it from the rental side right now. He's actually renting out his color beige versus 650 to people via these apps. But I've rented from Twisted Road before. I've not rented from Riders Share, and to keep in mind too, I've also rented from like MotoQuest and Eagle Rider. I've rented from a couple of different places, and I found that Twisted Road was very simple and easy to use. The only caveat that I would throw out there is I did have an incident once where someone claimed that their motorcycle was damaged when I brought it back, and the damage was already there when I took the motorcycle, but I didn't take pictures of anything before I took it. I thought we were on an honor system type thing. So the only thing I would say is that you should definitely, if you are renting the bike, take a lot of pictures as you're picking it up. Ask those questions ahead of time. Where did this scratch come from? Do you see this dent here ahead of time so that we note it? But as far as would I share my bike? I mean, maybe. The problem is, like, my bikes are usually so, like, I'm thinking about like my 1090 or my Bonneville. My Bonneville I wouldn't share, because if somebody wrecked that bike, it's not replaceable in my mind. My 1090 I would share, but also like the 1090 is not exactly safe. Like, I usually have like crazy non-DOT tires on it or something wacky, and like I have
non-DOT tires. Spurgeon.
Forget I said anything. I didn't say that.
What?
But like, I have the dongle on it where it's like ABS is turned off permanently, so when you turn the 1090 on, it just flashes not legal at you over and over again.
I love that era of KTM dashboards when it just said not legal, not legal.
Exactly. And all I could think of is like, that's got to be some liability in the fine print if I let somebody borrow one of my bikes. But would I go out and buy like a Versys 650 to like let people ride as some extra income? Probably. What about you?
Yeah, I think that you answered the question in so much as that. Yeah, the answer is you only want to rent your bike out if you feel comfortable with someone tipping it over or whatever. And that, like, Aries Versus is extremely not precious to him. He doesn't care. I mean, he doesn't want it to get damaged. It's not like it's not a
it's a beautiful bike. It's a beautiful bike. It looks like it's brand new. He does a very good job.
Great.
He maintains that bike like he maintains a chain.
Oh, the chain is squeaky clean, obviously. And he's also, he's done some work to it. He got the matching top case to match the luggage, and he put on a hydraulic clutch conversion kit, and he keeps his bike tidy. He does a good job. He's got an aftermarket windscreen for it. He said, like, he's invested in it to a certain extent, but in his mind he's like, I don't mind risking this, like giving it to a stranger and they can give me however much money, and then if they bring it back and they're like, I tipped it over, he'll just be like, okay, whatever, which I wouldn't do with my bike. Like, my personal KTM, first of all, is kind of unruly and doesn't have any safety systems, and it's tall and it doesn't always start. So that's why I don't do it with my bike, because it's like, it's difficult and not the best bike to rent out. But the Versus 650 is perfect, and it's also, like I said, he bought it a couple of years ago and he doesn't really care about it. So I think, to answer your question, Nick, in Venice, California, with taking all this stuff into account, I would experiment with it. I think if you want to use it as a service to rent from, you should definitely take a stab at it. Just like Spurgeon said, do it like you do when you rent a car in Portugal or whatever. Like, take good pictures, because you're not quite sure what's going to happen at the end. And if you're thinking about renting out your own bike, just maybe make sure it's not super precious to you. Yeah,
if it's a 999R that you've had since new and there's no scratches on it, I probably wouldn't put that up, for rent. But if it's a Ninja 650 that is 2 years old and it's a dependable motorcycle and you're just not riding it every day and you want to try and bring in some extra money, I would try it. If I had the right bike for it, I would definitely try it.
All right, should we let all these poor people go, Spurgeon Dunbar?
Yeah, I think we just let them know that, go ahead, leave us a comment if you want to. We might pick yours for the air. You can go ahead and drop a comment on YouTube. You can shoot us an email to highsidelowside@RevZilla.com. And as always, Zach, what happens if they leave us an Apple podcast review?
Correct. So leave a comment wherever you like. But if you do leave us an Apple podcast review, we might read it on the podcast, and we might give you a free t-shirt. And as a friendly reminder, the winners today on this podcast, Davis J. Blair and Low Tech Guy. So please send us your t-shirt size and your address. We'll send you a t-shirt. Other than that, I don't know if we've got much else to talk about, do we? Are we done here?
I think we can set a record for signing off and drawing this out longer than anybody else. So with that, no further ado, we're going to say goodbye to you from Spurge, from Zack. Thanks for joining us for another episode of High Side, Low Side.
See you next time, everybody.